All right, Texas fans, Justin, Ben, Brett here at the 41st Acre. A little late here, but getting our post-game reaction to the SEC championship game. Uh, Georgia beats Texas 21-19 in overtime. ETN had a 4-yard touchdown run to end it. Um, this was a tough game for us to watch. It felt like Texas was dominating this game, and I did a little short at halftime. At halftime, it was 6-3, but Texas had like a 5-1 ratio of yards compared to Georgia. It was like 250-50. Um, Obviously, Texas also had 80 yards in penalties at the half, um, but we felt like this was a game that Texas let slip away. Um, They made Carson Beck look pretty average. He got hurt. You're thinking backup quarterback comes in, you know, let's just finish this game, no mistakes, move on. And Texas just couldn't do it. Um, Credit to Georgia for being resilient, and Kirby Smart, I think, always makes really good second half adjustments. So um, let's get into some of the good that we saw from the game. Brett, why don't you start with some of the good things that we saw from the game, then we'll talk about some of the bad things and things Texas has to fix going into the playoffs.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a tough game to watch, especially that second half. I think we all had, between the three of us, there was a little bit of pain being flung around in our text messages back and forth to each other, maybe some venting and distributing some of that anger towards each other at certain points in time. But yeah, that was a tough one. You hate to be on the losing end on a game like that, right? You go into first overtime ever for the SEC championship. You're in a great position in the first half. You claw back to tie the game to send it to that overtime, and then you lose a heartbreaker. It was a tough one, but there was some good that came out of the game. And I think everyone would probably say this, but I mean, Quinn looked good, right? It didn't look fantastic, didn't look like the best, but he looked good. And he definitely looked like a completely different quarterback than he did the first time against Georgia. He was still sacked 6 times, which is something I'm going to talk about in my bad takeaways. But his feet looked a lot better in the pocket. He was still looking up for the throw. He made a couple of nice runs in the game. Um, so it was good to see him rebound in a game like that. I wish he would have had a bigger red zone presence and maybe hit on some of those throws he threw into the end zone. But football happens. I thought, on the good side of things, the defensive effort in the first half was outstanding. It was it was as if they were trying to revenge the game themselves from the first time around, even though they didn't really give up any yards or many points on them in that first game. But they came out with a fire under them, held them to 3 points in the first half. A turnover to hurt Carson Beck on the final play of the half. Actually, like 3 turnovers in a row, actually, before the half. 2 of them called back by penalties, only for us to sack fumble him on the third one, almost return it for a touchdown. The defense was lights out in that first half. Second half, it was a little bit different. There were some adjustments. Obviously, Gunnar Stockton coming in kind of changed that game. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Um, you know, One thing that I will say is the silver lining of this game is that we're still in the college football playoff. If this was a year ago in the SEC championship and we lose that game, our season's over. At this point in time, we would have 10 players saying that they're going to focus on getting ready for the draft and they're not going to participate in the bowl game. And we would be playing in, you know, some bowl game that just wouldn't even have any kind of meaning to it. And if we lost, we would just use the excuse, as all schools do. Well, our players weren't really into it. They were looking forward to the college football playoff, or we're missing 10 of our starters. So the benefit of this game, even though you lost and it hurt a lot to lose that game, is you're still in the college football playoff and you still have everything to play for. National championship's still there. In fact, Texas is still the overall favorite to win the national championship, believe it or not. I think tied with Oregon. I think we have the same odds as Oregon, is what I last read.
How in the world is
Yeah,
that possible?
that's crazy.
It's crazy. We got to play an extra game too. So I mean, part of it's the draw. You know, you ended up with a good draw against Clemson, who's easily the worst team in the playoff, and then going on to Arizona State if you win that game, and then like we were talking about earlier before we started the podcast, then you get to play whoever comes out of that gauntlet of Oregon, Ohio State, and Tennessee. So those are some of the good takeaways I had from the game. What do you got, Justin?
And I was just thinking about talking about the same thing. Um, yeah, I think I enjoyed the game overall, except for the loss. All right, first half was awesome. Like you said, our text thread, and not just ours. I mean, a lot of my other friends' text thread was going off. We were excited. We were disappointed that we didn't get in the end zone, but at the end of the day, we dominated time of possession. We dominated on the yards, exactly, and we were better on third down than we had been in the past. Watching the game, being in the championship game, a meaningful championship game to win the SEC in your first year was fantastic. But yeah, it sucked to lose. I would say probably yesterday was when I finally started feeling better about like, all right, maybe the team can still win the national championship. But yeah, you just hate to watch them lose, right? There were some neat plays out there. Arches, like when he was up under the center and then they snapped it between his legs on that fourth down. That was a cool play. Like Sark is still in his bag, still coming up with creative ways to make plays like we talked about. I don't think he emptied the gun in any way, but good to see that the team is still lively. The defense played great for the most part. Yes, they let up that one long run, but man, Gunnar Stockton, hats off to you, man. He got knocked the hell out and held onto that ball, as I guess in overtime, right? And then Beck was able to come in. I'm going to guess he has like Tommy John surgery coming and able to do what he did to hand the ball off and win the game. It was pretty unbelievable. At the end of the day, I really always still enjoy watching the team. I thought it was a fun game to watch. I hated the way it ended, obviously. We had our opportunities. As much as I'd love to say you can blame penalties, you could blame refs, because put my tinfoil hat on, as many penalties as have been called against Texas in these bigger games, I don't know if it was revenge against the water bottle fiasco back in October or just, SEC saying, hey, kind of do what you can to make sure that Texas doesn't come in here and just run the table the first year. Again, that's tinfoil hat. All right. It's just me poking fun. But it just seemed like, man, just constantly the penalties just happen at the worst times, at the biggest moments they happen against us, or they'd be offsetting, right? When we finally get a face mask against Quintravian, there's also a holding, right? So that's what I think left like a lot of bad taste in my mouth. That on top of losing when we had our opportunities. But at the end of the day, man, we're still in the playoff. Like we said, we still got everything we want in front of us. Bert Auburn should have won it in regulation, right? Yeah, with so many back and forth feelings I have about it. Offense looked good. Quinn looked great, in my opinion. Yeah, he had some stupid throws, but he had some really good throws. And the receivers dropped. I think we had 6 drops, right? I mean, there was so much good and bad back and forth, which I know we'll get into more. But at the end of the day, man, I'm glad we got to watch one more week into the season. So, and then we got playoffs ahead of us.
Yeah, I like what you hit on there. Like, take into consideration as a fan what Texas has done in the first year in the SEC, where in 2021, other schools, other fans were saying there's no way you're going to be ready for that. Well, we ran the table outside of Georgia, made it all the way to the SEC championship, forced overtime in a game we should have won against, for the SEC championship. There's a lot to be excited about for this program. I wouldn't get our heads hung. We got to beat out our rivals to be the first Texas team to make it to an SEC championship.
Say that again.
A&M sucks.
I couldn't hear that. Just kidding, little bro.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
That's some real little brother energy.
Hey, speaking of, I did end up ordering those little brother pajamas.
Nice, good deal.
Christmas morning.
Yeah, I mean that game, all in all, kind of like what you're saying, it was a seesaw of emotions, right? I mean, there was look at how dominant we look in the first half. And then it was opening of the second half. Wait a second, what the hell? And then, hey, we actually had, a good play go for us. And a penalty, we did something good. And then a turnover. It was just so back and forth, which is exactly what you want out of a game that big with that much on the line. So, again, got to be happy they made it that far. Unfortunate the way it turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you guys said, silver lining.
You go ahead.
And
man.
we talked about this in our pregame, and we have a little bit of an argument about it as well. Like, yeah, the game mattered, but yeah, the silver lining is I think you knew, win or loss, what you're going to be doing next. You get a bye or you have to play again, but in the playoff. So benefiting from the expanded playoff for sure. They'll probably expand it to 16 or whatever before long. But
128.
Yeah, 128. There's no season anymore.
Just start week 0.
It's just a plan all season.
Well, we'll do a separate podcast talking about our playoff predictions and how we think they should reformat it.
I'll just
so
add this.
Back to this.
I'll just add this to kind of my thoughts on the SEC championship, and we were talking about it earlier. Sometimes the ball just bounces in your favor, right? The fact that they had the fake punt that converted a major third down at one point in time. They had the 2 fumbles that bounced either right back up to them or one of their guys was able to get on it. You had, Justin, you mentioned it, the hit on Gunnar Stockton by Andrew Makuba at the very end of the game, and the fact that he literally went to the dark realm and still held on to that football. That football didn't come out. Like, I mean,
is that the same dark place that Aaron Rodgers goes to?
Yeah, I don't know. There's like gypsies there or something. But
let's talk about that hit. Was that obviously they didn't call it targeting?
No,
what do you guys
that's
think?
not targeting. I mean, he's a ball runner.
No,
I mean, it was clean. I mean, I thought it was pretty quick how they picked up the flag. Now, when you watch it real time on TV, the first thing I thought was targeting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Boy, you got popped. Absolutely.
Well, when someone's head falls off, like that's naturally what you think.
It's fair.
So,
I'll tell you what though, if he didn't hold on to that ball, he'd have to change his name from Gunner. Like, that's just a rough and tough name. You can't play football and then get hit like that and drop the ball. All right, you hold on to the damn ball. So again, kudos.
Yeah, kudos.
Tough kid.
Yep. I thought it was clean. Great stop. The unfortunate thing, if we want to continue on with that play or that series,
sure.
The whole world knew they were running the ball.
Exactly.
How do you not stop that, man? That was again like the hey, great stop, great hit. What the hell, guys? How did you not stop the next play? And that was maybe a high of emotion because Beck was back out there looking like it's his last play of the season. I'll be honest, right?
Yeah.
Really cool story for him. But like, man, Texas defense, and I know they're not feeling great about it, right? And use it as fire to drive forward and play better next time. But damn, like, you got to be able to make that stop. 4 yards. Now, if it's 1 yard, that's different, right? 1 yard is 50-50. 4 yards, oof, that was tough.
While we're talking about overtime, did we, if I remember correctly, like run just like 2 kind of like just jump balls in the red, like in the end zone?
Yeah. Didn't try to get yards, just went straight for touchdown 3 times in a row.
I think this is my problem with a lot of Sark's play calling and he's a great schemer, great play caller, but it seems to me that too many times it's like a one receiver route. Like there's one plan, there's no progression, and some of these screen passes that work, against Kansas last year or against whoever we played last year or UTSA, these fake to the left, fake to the right, go back to the left. Like those don't work against Georgia. Those need to get out of the playbook. This time they actually tried to do that. They faked the left, faked the right, and then tried to hit Gunnar Helm up the seam, but the linebacker was all over it. Again, it's a one receiver route. I think Quinn got sacked on that play, but there's no time for that kind of play against Georgia. and I see it a lot of times. And again, those drives and the drive in overtime, we see just like a quick, let's throw it to the receiver on a seam. And yeah, maybe it was a good matchup. You like Wingo over that guy for Georgia.
Yep.
Wingo's a stud, probably, maybe the third best freshman wide receiver in the country. But it's just not a great, like, it's not what I think. Is that your best option, really? Is just throw a jump ball to a freshman wide receiver in the SEC championship game? We hadn't really seen Wingo make those plays. I mean, Wingo's been great on slants and post routes throughout the year. I don't recall him ever winning a jump ball throughout the season. Like, we have proof in game situation that this guy can go up against any corner and beat him 1-to-1.
Yeah.
And
Gunnar Helm would be that guy. Remember
Gunnar
when he
would be
mossed
that
on those
Yeah.
3 for Michigan? Yeah.
I've always been curious about the fact that we've never really been a team that throws the jump ball. Not since who was that?
With Ad and I, we did.
Out of Texas or out of California that we had for all those years.
Like Limas Sweet era or after that?
No. It was a Tom Herman guy. He played with Devin Duvernay.
We had Mike Davis, but he was kind of the fast guy.
No, this was after.
He's from Dallas,
Malcolm Williams? No, he was.
No,
he was
he
well
played
before
with
that.
Devin Duvernay. This is only this against the team that played against LSU and Sam Ellinger's team.
Yeah, I mean, Lil Jordan Humphrey?
No, the other one, the one that was on the other side, that lined up opposite of Lil Jordan Humphrey. But yes, Lil Jordan Humphrey was also a jump ball guy.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is, I was mainly disappointed in the overtime and really throughout the game is like the runs. You're talking about like you can't run outside like that. Brett, let me know if you think of that name. Where was the up the middle runs? Like our offensive line was so Jekyll and Hyde. It was look at all Colin Johnson. That's a great call. It is Colin Johnson. Yep.
He's 6'6".
Would you look up tall wide receiver from Texas?
Yeah.
No, I just looked up Sugar Bowl 2019 because that's the last time we beat Georgia, and I remember that game.
But I was so disappointed in the Jekyll and Hyde of our offensive line. Like, they let up 11 negative plays. They're a Joe Moore Award finalist. They don't deserve it. I can't believe they were finalists. I think we all feel the same way there. It was a little surprising because we've watched them so closely and we're like, this is one of the best in the country. Are we sure? So where was the vertical running, right? Where was it cram it down the throat? This outside stuff we kept trying to do worked, 1 out of every 10? But when you average, again, 1.1 yards per carry, like that's not going to win you games. And that's why I think Quinn, all things considered, played a great game. But, man, where was the run game when you really needed it? Like we've seen it the past couple of years or weeks. And I think that just shows, yeah, man, that Georgia front is no joke. And they get up for the big games like we talked about.
Yeah, the run game really hurt us. The lack of a run game really, really hurt us, especially in the red zone, where we became extremely one-dimensional. Because to me, it seemed like Kirby Smart was saying, we're going to make you beat us with Quinn Ewers. We're going to make you beat us. You are not going to beat us on the ground game, right? And it wasn't there. We rushed for 30 yards in the game. Quinn threw for 360 yards. So there's your disparity between rushing and passing yards. But for whatever reason, Sark, to me, stayed so stubborn in that run game and just would not continue to put the pressure on. Like it was kind of the opposite of what we've seen when we've struggled in past this season, where we would try to force a completion on first down, and then now you're behind the sticks, you're 2nd and 10, and then try to run the ball, and you're 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, or something like that. You're just trying to play catch up. This time it was we'd run the ball on first down and we'd be 2nd and 12, and then we'd have the incompletion and it would be 3rd and 12. But the passing was open. That slant route to DeAndre Moore that changed the game, that tied the game, right? Like, why didn't we keep sticking to that in the playbook? That RPO was so beautiful. Fake handoff to Trey, boom, DeAndre Moore's there. He would have gotten 10 yards. Oh wait, he breaks the safety's tackle. House call. Like, I was so frustrated with some of the play calling. Like, why are we forcing this? Like, obviously your offensive line's not there. We got to adjust that. We got to make an adjustment for the college football playoffs. But in that moment, Just let Quinn keep cooking. He could have thrown for 450, 500 yards in that game had you just given him more opportunities. And I kind of think maybe that was the mentality in overtime was, hey, run game hasn't done anything for us in the red zone. Georgia knows they can stop it. Maybe we do have to do some shot
Yeah.
plays while we're outside of the red zone at the 25-yard line to try to change this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of goes back to what you said. Like, where was the slant route? Because all we did was throw past the first down, and if you don't get any yards, now you're 2nd and 10, then you're 3rd and 10, and now you have to go for a first down, right? Like, why not get you 5 yards? Talk about opening up the playbook. You know what I mean?
I don't think we disagree with the passing because obviously we struggle to run the ball. Like throw the ball. I don't care if you.
Yeah.
I don't care if like based on how we run the ball, like the whole second half, just throw it.
Yeah.
But you don't have to throw it deep every time. Like
No.
You have a high, low, medium, and you read it. You know, you have good concepts and good routes. Receivers pay attention to the ball. Isaiah Bond, like Quinn puts in a good spot, and he led the receivers really well. He's thrown it over linebackers all year long. So even with good linebacker positioning, if you're running your route the correct way on that deep end route or deep post, like Quinn's good enough to throw it over those linebackers in the zones and get it to you. So, but it's just, I think for me, it seemed like a one receiver route, a predetermined throw. And yeah, you like the matchup. Great. Sark's a lot smarter than us. He's been coaching at a high level a lot long, and we haven't, but it's easy for us to say, but it didn't work. So we hope to see something different the next time they get an opportunity against a good team like this in a championship environment.
That is
that Georgia defense reminded me a lot of. Say that again, Brett.
I was going to say Georgia's defense is an absolute nightmare matchup for us. We thought the 3 high safety was a matchup nightmare for Sark's offense. That's the nightmare on Elm Street of defenses for Sark to play against.
Yeah. The Georgia defense reminds me of how Texas has played a lot this year, right? We'll kind of give up some yards, but we ain't going to let up a bunch of touchdowns. And that's exactly what they did, right?
They don't break.
We get 1 touchdown off of one of those field goal attempts. It's over. We make one more of those field goals. What about the penalty, right? He makes the 40-yarder, and then 5 yards later he misses it way left or whatever. Like, just shooting yourselves in the foot too many damn times. And maybe they're getting it out of the way now, and they'll start playing clean ball, and we'll get refs that aren't biased. I'm sorry, I had to throw it in there. I mean, it was unfortunate the way that game went from a lot of different reasons, right? We've been going through it this whole time.
Yeah, so we're talking bad now. We got penalties, no run game, fumbles bouncing the wrong way, missed field goals. You make those, you win the game in regulation. Otherwise, Texas defense played pretty well. Quinn was pretty good. I will say the 2 interceptions by Quinn. The first one, Isaiah Bond ran his route, turned around, wasn't ready for it, tipped off of him. The DB was there paying and great awareness by the DB to catch it. The second interception was late in the game. Texas was losing. It was like a 3rd and 22, and he just kind of throws it up on a seam route. He's getting pressured and just kind of gets rid of it. And so that was, to me, that was more like a punt. It goes against him. So yeah, so regardless, it was 3rd and 22. You shouldn't be in the 3rd and 22.
Here's the other thing about that, because I watched that replay too. Cameron Williams, I don't remember who was rushing him. Cameron Williams, 360-pound Cameron Williams, biggest lineman in the SEC, basically, is getting pushed back and bull rushed by, I don't know, probably Mike Williams or Jalen Walker. And literally runs him right into Quinn Ewers. Quinn's trying to make an off balance play there and forces the throw. And he forced the throw for sure. It was bad. But I mean, Cameron Williams didn't help him. And that just kind of goes back to the offensive line woes. It's like, it's just frustrating. It's so much like give him a clean pocket, let him work because he's playing really well, but we still can't do that.
Yep. And again, 6 drops. I don't remember if this is the stat I saw, but I think I sent it to y'all that there had only been 10 drops by receivers in the first 12 games of the season, and they had 6 drops in one game. Just lack of concentration. I don't think the moment was too big. I think it was just lack of concentration and some good defense by Georgia, right? Like, give them all credit. I mean, they made the receivers have to make those plays, and they made it tough on them. Yeah. But it counts as drops.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm so sick about. I think what did I put in my my things I was worried about last time? Yeah, I said repeat of last time, and that was offensive line versus defensive line. It was a repeat of last time. No questions asked. I think they had 7 sacks. They had 6 sacks. And they made some adjustments. Their defensive line was a little bit different. Huh?
I said better, technically.
Yeah, better. So, I mean, that's part of it. One thing I did want to call out was, we talked a lot about the defense and how good the defense was in the first half. In the second half, what really killed us, if you go back and watch that first drive, right, where they scored a touchdown, I think they scored a touchdown right off the bat. Yeah, they did on a Trevor Etienne run at the end. Yep. They converted several third downs in that. And one thing that I noticed was, as good as Texas has been the past, A&M, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, as good as Texas has been against these mobile quarterbacks that they've played in the second half of the season, in the defensive line staying in their rush lanes to make sure that they control them, and then when those scrambling running backs do run, they run towards the sideline as opposed to uphill. We didn't do that in this game at all. Gunnar Stockton, when he did run, it's because he found a crease between the defensive tackle and the edge. Somebody lost their rush lane. And if you look at the one where Gunnar Stockton got his head knocked off at the very end of the game, Jermaine Lole, he's coming. He loses his rushing lane and leaves this gigantic gap between the two defensive tackles. And what does Gunnar Stockton do? He cruises up for, I think it was like a 10-yard gain, right on third. It was like 3rd and 10, something like that.
Yep.
And he, gets the first down. Held onto the ball too.
Yep. Yeah.
So I was really disappointed in the defense.
And I got to imagine it's we weren't prepped for this backup quarterback who has probably more or less no tape out there, right? So was that always a part of Gunnar Stockton's game? I have no idea, right?
But here's the thing that frustrates me so much about this. So much about this. You knew Carson Beck was hurt going into halftime. I mean, the guy took 5 minutes to get off the ground. You have tape on every single person on that roster, whether it's high school tape or college tape. And the kid's played this year. And, it's been in blowouts, but he's played. You know that he was the number 1 dual threat coming out of high school when he left high school. How do you not prepare for this? Like, how do you not get the guys at halftime ready? Like, hey, we got to get back on rush lanes. We can rush this guy. We'll put pressure on him. Nobody put the Superman cape on and try to make it a one-man show. Stay in your rush lanes like you did against the A&M quarterback, like you did against Traylon Green in Arkansas, like you did Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. Do that again, and you win this game. We didn't do that. He converts multiple third downs using his legs, big yards using his legs, wins the game using his legs. That was so frustrating to me because that they talked about it at halftime, that he was going to be coming in, what this guy's skill is. No freshman quarterback wants to have to make the big-time throw and trust their arm. They're always going to default to the leg. 99% are going to default to the legs. So that was just unacceptable to me, unforgivable to me. Like, how do you not have your defense ready to do that? And if you didn't, get guys in that would maintain those lines. Oh, awful. Sorry.
I hear you, and I feel the frustration, man. And while you're talking through that, I went back and I was just looking at Gunnar Stockton's college stats, rushing stats specifically. He doesn't even have 100 yards in his college career. Granted, he's only played 6 or 7 parts of 6 or 7 games, right?
Okay, so
maybe they did only look at college.
No, unacceptable. That's not an acceptable answer. You know who
Okay.
he is. He's the number
I hear you.
one quarterback coming out of high school. Unacceptable. When he comes into the game for Georgia nowadays, or the past, what is he doing? He's handing the ball off. They're not going to do design quarterback runs with him. He's the backup quarterback. So that's not an excuse. No, when we watch the film, he only hands the ball off. That's all he does. No, you have to know who these guys are.
I think to Brett's point, there's a lot of analysts on the team. Like should be part of like an analyst's job is to understand who the backups are and which one of them are playmakers. Like you just look Max Prep's website. Gunnar Stockton had 4,300 rushing yards in 4 years of starting it on varsity.
Yeah,
77 rushing touchdowns. I mean,
shit.
It's like, okay, that doesn't tell you this guy has wheels. Like that's a quick it's a 30-second Google search at halftime. Who's the starting quarterback? Obviously he hadn't played in college, otherwise, or they'd have more notes on him. But like, hey, this guy can run the ball. Yeah, it's high school, okay, but that's kind of freshman quarterback 101. Is let's get him on some. We got to run the ball well. So Texas, number one, need to stop the run. Number two is they want to do play action and get them out, so where they have a run pass option on the perimeter. So they get the freshman quarterback out of the pocket. You roll out, and what did he do? He ran it for a first down and kind of ran over one of our guys on that first drive, and that sent a message, and the Georgia team got all fired up. That was, you could sense at that point in time there was a change in momentum, and it was just a simple run by a freshman quarterback for a first down. He runs over a DB. Okay, so what? I mean, I don't know if he actually ran him over, but he lowered his shoulder and absorbed the hit. Didn't really get tackled. So you have something like that happen, but that's like there is like a standard when you put in a freshman, you try to get him out of the pocket, get him comfortable, get him moving early, and get him in a rhythm, like with a quick dump off pass, and you got to run the ball well. I don't think Texas did that when they brought in Garrett Gilbert, but that's typically the standard freshman quarterback playbook. So, at least from what I've seen in my 30 plus years of watching football.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say against it, and we can move on after this, is that hasn't been Georgia's offensive scheme for the past 2 years. Mike Bobo doesn't have quarterback run game in his repertoire. Okay,
it's not quarterback run. It's bootleg, play action, and if there's nothing there, I mean, Stetson Bennett did it all the time.
Yeah,
they
right, and that was not Mike Bobo offensive coordinating.
That's what I'm saying. They're not designed quarterback runs, but you get the quarterback out, and it's it's an easy decision.
Cool. Texas defense sucks. Let's go.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just like, I think to Brett's point, it seemed like they were not prepared for it, and we felt like they should have been.
Yeah, it happened too many times.
I agree.
That was the frustrating part about it, and that's why I was so frustrated as a fan. I mean, they won the game on that play.
That's why it's. That's why I think the reason it was frustrating is we have proven throughout the season we can stop a mobile quarterback.
That's right.
Like Brett mentioned, Arkansas, A&M. I mean, Michigan was kind of surprising.
Vanderbilt.
I mean, they tried it, but they started Warren instead of Orgy. But yeah, Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. Granted, he got his ankle sprained in that game, but overall, we contained Pavia on the run, and it just seemed like they kind of forgot how to do it. Yeah. But I mean, again, I think Justin, you still gave up only 13 points in the second half, 3 in the first. You gave up 16 points in regulation. Like I'm not blaming the defense for this game. It's the penalties and the inability on offense to convert. And like missed field goals can happen. Texas has to find a way to put the ball in the end zone more than one time.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's for sure. I haven't seen. I'm trying to find the number. Just so y'all know, do y'all know how many yards Gunnar Stockton is credited with rushing for.
Well, in the game, he had 8.
Right.
So really not a lot.
Right, but I think that takes into account sacks. So
It does.
I think the defense did a good job. It was the first play or the first series,
sack
which is
him.
where I screwed up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, again, I don't think it didn't like it happened to, in overtime, obviously, in that first drive. I mean, those otherwise that
Oh yeah,
held them to
they had him on
3
his
points.
heels at certain points in time in the game. It's just frustrating when you
Yeah,
lose it.
I think they responded well, but yeah, they responded well after that initial drive. But I think our frustration is the initial drive, kind of know, at least my opinion, knowing what you should know about how teams typically like to get backup quarterbacks ease into a game, and then understanding this guy was a highly touted recruit, ran the ball pretty well in high school. So
they probably looked at him and they're like, that white boy can't run. Don't worry about it. Let's go.
Yeah. Some of
I
his
was hoping
throws,
that.
too, that they converted. Like, that one throw, I think maybe he threw it to the tight end, Delk, where he, dragged a toe on the sideline.
What a great catch, though. I mean,
And so
you can't do anything about that catch.
This goes back to our point of the ball just bounces your way sometimes, right? It's and he made a great off-platform throw for that one. I'm pretty sure he was scrambling to his right. I think Trey Moore or one of our linemen lost containment because we weren't ready for the speed, like we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets himself some time and then makes a throw. And then this tight end, everyone on their team dropped every single pass thrown to him in the first half and in our first game we played against.
We probably got called for roughing the passer too on that one.
That was crazy.
That was so bad.
That was crazy.
Yeah, kind of how you said though, real quick about how sometimes the football goes your way. Take A&M for example. Every close call, the targeting, the 2 touchdowns, they all went Texas's way, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many Aggies texted me and they were like, "This isn't fair," and I had to wipe up their tears with little freaking maroon handkerchiefs. And here we are
in pajamas
bitching about it as well. I get it, right? It comes and it goes.
Yep.
Let's talk about
we could easily if somebody. Yeah, go ahead.
Not.
No, I want to talk about special teams, and I blame you for part of it, Justin, because you definitely jinxed it at one point in time. I can't remember what game it was, but you're like, I'm waiting for Texas to get in one of these big games, big spotlights, where special teams is going to be a deciding factor in that game, and Texas on the bad end. And what happens in this one, Justin? Let's talk about field goals because we had a group text going about field goals. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on Bert Auburn right now? Is he invited to Christmas?
If he's kicking a field goal inside 40 yards, he's awesome. Outside of that, he's at best 50%. And it's just not the same kid that we watched for the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it is. Shave his head, tie his left shoe into triple knots. I don't know what it is. It seems like it's something mental. Anything over 40, he starts freaking out about. Anything within that, he's pretty damn good.
Yeah. And he's got the distance. I mean, time and time, distance is not an issue. It feels like it's a mental thing, and it's always from, I shouldn't say always. It seems like it's from the right hash that he has the
right side. Yep.
Which I'm 100%. So grateful that he was
False
on the left side for
also
the game-tying
don't help.
field goal.
Yep. Yeah, he seems way better from the left.
The false start as well.
The false start made it.
Yep. And then
5 yards later, he missed it.
Did it go to? I don't know what it was.
He hooked it left.
No, but I mean, I don't know what the yardage.
I think it went over 40. I think it was like 39 to 44 or something like that.
That's right. I think that sounds about right.
He likes the little draw.
So 3 for 5 on field goals. You go 4 for 5 or 5 for 5. Heaven forbid 5 for 5, a perfect day from field goals, and you win that game. But let's talk about another big spotlight that I think led to a field goal. Was the fake punt. Where's Texas's
That was huge.
packages for all these
What a
special
call.
special teams plays?
That's the one thing I don't know. Jeff Banks is so good at all that, and
Is
we
he?
haven't seen hardly any of it this year.
Is he? He has been
I mean,
awful this year.
I think the past 3 years, I think the past 3 years tell you we're really good at special teams. This year, there's been no major wrinkles that have really give us anything. So I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he's run out of plays, or maybe the looks just aren't there. I'm not sure.
I'm shocked. I mean, absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
We went through we've gone through 13 games this season, and I don't know where we rank on special teams across the SEC, but it's got to be the lower third because on every kickoff return that we had a chance to make a big play, called back for holding, right?
Holding.
On punt and punt block, where we've usually averaged a couple of punt blocks a year. I don't think we've gotten close on any punt blocks this year. And on punt returns, I wouldn't say
maybe once.
we haven't had anything special. So for Georgia to, all right, I'll tell you my experience watching this part of the game. So Georgia's punter had just like blew out his knee. Did y'all see that play where he's chasing down?
Yeah. Well, he tried to make a tackle. Yeah, that was fun, kind of funny.
He just kind of buckled under him.
Not, I mean, hope he gets better, but like he kind of fell. He like collapsed.
Oh man, been making fun of punters.
I totally laugh at the punters trying to make.
These are only Ben's. These are only Ben's thoughts. Stop the 41st Acre.
No, just go
punters
watch the
real
replay. It's hilarious watching him. Yeah. I wish him well. He had a great game before that.
Yeah, he did.
But I wish him, best in his career. But like, he needs to go practice with a tire in his backyard when his knee heals up. So
we had just seen this guy blow out his knee, right? Texas, I think it was a 3-and-out that we got them to punt because they were punting from their own 30. And we just had a 3-and-out. We're about to get the ball back. We're feeling pretty good. The offense is starting to move again. And it's obviously the perfect time for a fake punt. Your punter just got hurt. The guy who's been pinning us back for 2 games straight just got hurt. You've got Arian Smith out there, and I don't know if he's a regular on their punt team or not. But it just kind of shows like, hey, this could be a potential fake punt. Me, I'm standing up. I'm watching the game with a couple of casual fans that don't really pay attention. I'm like, guys, watch this. This guy is going to shank it like crazy because he's probably never punted in a big game like this. He's just going to either miss the ball. It's going to go through his hands. Like something big is going to happen here. That's what I'm saying. I'm hyping our boys up, and I figure we had punt block on. Like we were going to go out there and just block the punt. Like try to put more pressure on this guy. And sure enough, Arian Smith goes into motion. My eyes got real big, and long story short, they passed it to him. He takes off running, beats Jade Barron to the first down marker, and completely changes the drive from what would have been a 3-and-out to a scoring drive. That one hurt so bad. That hurts so bad.
That sounds a lot like you jinxed it.
No, well, I did in the moment.
That just sounds a lot like you jinxed
it. You can't unjinx a jinx that's already in place.
That's fair. Yeah, special teams has been a downer the whole season, and in the biggest games, it has definitely, unfortunately, reared its ugly head. I think you can fix it. I really do. Again, cut his hair, shave his legs, tie single knots to double knots to triple knots, whatever. It sounds like it's a mental thing, and that's just me obviously speculating. The only time I've ever tried kicking field goals in my life was in middle school, and I hit the lineman 3 times in a row, and I wasn't allowed to kick field goals anymore. Right? So what do I know? Okay. Hell, look at Justin Tucker in the NFL. All right. Something's going on with him too. So something weird is in the world about Texas kickers, but let's just not have him kick over 40. It moved from 37 to 42, by the way, Ben. I went and looked it up. Just don't kick over 40. There you go.
Yeah, I think that's when you get into your own individual team analytics and when do you go for it or not. I mean, if you're in the 45 to 41-yard field goal range, you go for it on fourth down now.
Yep.
Like it's
Unfortunately.
and again, these analytics, oh, that's a whole nother conversation. Like
Yep.
I don't think they take into account how well you're playing, how well your kicker is, all this crap. Like when you put your human element on and watch football, you know whether or not like, hey, this should
This
we really
guy's
go for, should we really go for it or not, or kick a field goal? Well, now moving forward, I think with this team, it should be like, should we let Burt try to miss it, or do we go for it? And I think might make some of these games easier if you get into a difficult decision where you wonder, should we kick the field goal or not? And I've been maybe critical of Sark all year. I feel like we've gone for it too many times in the low red zone, like on the 5 yard line. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe that's actually the best thing for the Texas team. It's worked out a few times. It hadn't worked out a few times as well, but I think in general, I think it's worked out more than it's failed.
Yep.
But yeah, make no false start on the one field goal, and he made it, but he got pushed back, and so
Yep.
we got to move on to something else.
I'll give out
We didn't
some helmet
talk about
stickers.
Isaiah Bond much, but
More
I want to
guys.
highlight the first, and then we can get off the bat if you guys want. But I think we were talking before this call, like maybe he's not fully healthy yet, and they're just putting him out there. He hasn't been the same since the injury. First drive of the game, not ready for the ball. He tips it. DB makes a great play. I think the next drive he gets called for a holding, and then maybe the drive after that he gets called for an illegal pick play. Of course, Gunnar Helm drops the ball anyway. And then I think there was another drive where he got called for a holding. And I think all these, besides the interception, I think all these were kind of that high red zone Sark's talking about. And, maybe we're on the 25, 30-yard line, moving the ball well, and then we get this holding penalty that puts us back. And then it's an obvious, at least early on, we have the threat of running the ball, and we're doing okay. But when it's third and 15, third and 20, I mean, it's pass all the way. I don't think you're running a draw against this Georgia defense. So just killed us a little bit.
I don't have much to say about Isaiah Bond. I've aired my grievances. If he's hurt, you can play hurt. If you're injured, get off the field. Let somebody else take your spot. If he's a decoy, then don't throw him the damn ball. I haven't loved his attitude. I don't know the kid. All right. I want him to be a fantastic player for us. I want him to have a great career, all that jazz. I just when I watch you, I want to feel like you care. And sometimes I just don't get that when I watch him, especially recently. Beginning of the season, it was great. He was celebrating, scoring touchdowns, outrunning everybody. If it's the injury that's bothering you, just say something, man. I know there's an idea of trying to play tough and get through it, but at your position, if you can't make the cuts and sprint the way we need you to sprint, you got to know when to say, hey, man, I can't do this right now. What if we would have let him rest for 2 weeks and then go against Georgia again? What a difference could that have made? That's my thoughts.
Well, keep in mind he's probably. I guess we lost Ben. Keep in mind he's probably out for an extended period of time. That ankle roll up that happened looked pretty bad. And
Yep. I want him to get better. Again, I don't want him to
sure.
be
I mean,
hurt.
he's a special player,
If
and
you
I
are,
like to give the
say
guy the
something.
benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
that he's playing injured and not having a
Right.
So I'm with you. Well, let's
Yep.
Justin, let's do some closing thoughts. And I can go first, and then you can close us out. And just kind of overall thoughts of the game, and then what you're looking forward to for the college football playoff and the remainder of the season. So for me, this game came down to self-inflicted wounds. We talked, Justin, you hit on the drops, talked about penalties. The penalties, we didn't talk a ton about it. It reared its ugly head again, especially in the red zone. We're just hurting ourselves. Isaiah Bond with holding and pick plays, and Cameron Williams, hey, he looks like Laramie Tunsil again, just being the most penalized offensive lineman in the country at times. And the list goes on and on and on. And there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds in this game. You take away just a few of those, and we win. This team, hopefully, though, is not hanging their head right now. They've got everything to still play for, like we talked about earlier. The college football playoff is a little over a week away. You got an unbelievable draw in being able to play Clemson and then Arizona State. Clemson at home and then Arizona State. And then, like we talked about, you get to play one of those three teams that are going to beat each other up. So there's a lot to play for. Hopefully the guys have had their time to be down. They look at areas that they can improve on, and they're getting back to the practice field and they're ready to play and motivated. Because this team, like we said, and Vegas is rarely wrong, has the best chance to win the national championship. Be it as it may, they still got to play in a field of 12 teams, but you got to like those odds. And there isn't a matchup on paper that Texas would have until the national championship that I would be necessarily fearful of. Maybe Notre Dame and Georgia would be the teams I want to avoid as long as I can. And they're on the other side of the bracket. I think we can play with anybody else, and nobody's going to be ready for the defense that we're going to bring. So I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks. College football playoff should be interesting at minimum. And I will be at the first college football playoff game ever held at DKR.
Hell yeah, brother. Potentially going to be joining you.
Yeah,
definitely a lot to play for still, obviously. What did you say?
I said, yeah, you will be.
Yeah, buddy. There's a lot of other colleges and universities, I guess, in the state of Texas that are not playing for the same thing that Texas still has a chance to play for. So that's fun. It's fun to be in the situation they're in, to be able to continue to watch them play with the opportunity to make it to and win a national championship. At the end of the day, I thought Quinn played great for the most part. Yeah, a couple of picks, whatever. I think he threw the ball well. He moved pretty well in the pocket. He made some great throws. Too many damn drops, too many missed field goals, too many penalties. Just the worst times that could have happened. DeAndre Moore, Matthew Golden, both over 100 yards. Fantastic. All three of those guys get helmet stickers from me. Defense, Makuba, helmet sticker. 11 tackles. I think he had 2 tackles for loss. He played lights out. And it is unfortunate that we're talking about a safety with that many tackles, because that is maybe the one thing that we're not really wanting to do. But, at the end of the day, it's nice to see your best players showing out in the biggest games. So well done, Makuba. Looking forward to the playoffs. First of its kind, really, in regards to the size and kind of the shape of it and everything. So getting ready for Clemson, that'll be really cool. We'll do obviously a preview for that. But how neat is that Makuba just came from Clemson, and now he gets to play against Clemson, right? And then you've got Kate Klubnik, Westlake kid, coming back and playing against his hometown university. We've got just all kinds of storylines that are becoming our way. So
pause there. We got to say one thing. Rematch of the state championship. Quinn Ewers, Kate Klubnik.
Oh, I didn't even think about it. Years ago, that would have been when Quinn was a sophomore, right? Because he got hurt as a junior and he didn't play as a senior. Yeah, so that would have been when Quinn was a sophomore.
It's a rematch.
That's cool.
Michael Taff intercepted Quinn because Michael Taff was on that Westlake team. Intercepted.
Very good.
So there's a lot of
That's why they put Clemson there, because Clemson shouldn't have been there. But that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. All right, I like it. Storylines all around. So, and that's just the one game. I haven't looked into it deeply on all the other games. I'm excited for the college football playoff. We'll be here to cover it all, talk about it. Maybe Ben will join, maybe not. Maybe Ben's had enough of us. Otherwise, all I got to say is Saquon for MVP. That dude's been unreal. I know this is not college ball, but that dude has been putting up stats better than pretty much any running back we've seen. So this is my adieu to Saquon Barkley. I hope he wins the MVP. He deserves it. Otherwise, yeah, man. 41st Acre, Justin, For Brett and Ben, we're unfiltered, a little biased, and 100% truthful. We'll see y'all next time. Hook 'em.
And we're out.